Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So it's Ixalan week here in Instant Deck Tech Land, all this week looking at sweet new cards and decks featuring Rivals of Ixalan stuff. And today, we are heading to Rivals of Ixalan Standard to check in on one of the other tribes. So we played Merfolk for much Abrew this weekend. We played a budget pirate deck already, but we haven't really done much with vampires yet. So we're checking in on vampires. This is white-black vampires for Rivals of Ixalan Standard. Took Deburka to a 5-0 finish in a competitive Standard League on Magic Online. So congrats to Deburka on a super sweet tribal deck. A quick reminder before we break down white-black vampires for Standard. If you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So white-black vampires is basically a aggro, somewhat go wide-ish tribal deck. So to really understand what's going on, we better just work our way up the curve. So starting with the 1-drops, we have 3 different options. Sky Marcher Aspirant is the big new one. So it's just a Savannah Alliance. However, vampires, out of all the tribes, is pretty good at turning on Ascend. It makes tokens, it goes pretty wide. So once you have Ascend, Sky Marcher Aspirant isn't just a Savannah Alliance, it's a flying Savannah Alliance, which means it's actually pretty good in the late game. Like, it's not great, but a 2-1 flyer for 1 mana is reasonable in a lot of matchups, even on like turn 6, turn 7, thanks to Ascend. So it's a really good Savannah Lion for the vampire deck. Does board Sky Marcher, just a 1-of, can pump a vampire, gets in more flying damage, only a 1-1 though, unfortunately. And then Legion's Landing gives us some late game value. So we eventually will attack with enough creatures to flip it, and then we can just make a steady stream of 1-1 vampires with lifelink as kind of like a mana sink with the Danto the First Fort. Moving on to the 2-drop slot, we have a bunch of options, starting off with our Rick stuff. We have Legion Lieutenant, the Vampire Lord, super good in this deck. We got a lot of small vampires, but making them bigger, thanks to Legion's Lieutenant, makes the deck really scary. We're pretty good at making 1-1 vampire tokens. Imagine a Danto the First Fort. Making 1-1s with lifelink is fine, but making 2-2s since we have a Legion's Lieutenant out, or 3-3s if we have 2 Legion's Lieutenant out, makes it even more scary. And then Dusk Legion's Ally is just a free vampire. Yes, it costs us mana, but it doesn't cost us a card, so it makes it really easy to go wide and just keep playing vampires. The rest of our 2-drops, Adanto Vanguard is proven to be a very strong standard card. It's just so hard to get rid of thanks to being able to pay for to make it indestructible. It attacks for 3 damage starting on turn 3, so just a really strong, aggressive threat in the format. And then Gifted Aetherborn, better on defense than offense, but still, having lifelink and death touch is a good combination, kind of the ground version of Vampire Nighthawk. Another reasonable threat, although a little bit challenging to cast thanks to the double black in the mana. In the 3-drop slot, this is where things get a little sketchy. We only have 2 different 3-drops. Both of them are legendary, and they're both kind of meh in terms of power level. So Maverick Fiend Dusk Apostle, legitimately sweet with Legion Lieutenant, making a bunch of 1-1s when we attack with our vampires, which are 2-2s or 3-3s thanks to our lords on the battlefield. So that is actually a pretty sweet one, and better now than it was before, because we have ways to kind of turn the 1-1 vampires into real threats. Yahani and Dying Partisan, no real combos. We're not aristocrating. We can randomly sacrifice like a 1-1 to give it indestructible if we need to, but just kind of the next best 3-drop vampire. Rounding out the top of our curve, we have 2 Twilight Prophets, kind of the expensive, ascendy, flying vampire version of Dark Confidant with huge upside. So if we get Ascend, which we should be able to do in this deck pretty easily, and we have Twilight Prophet sit out on the battlefield, it is a finisher, it's a flying threat, it generates card advantages, keep revealing the top card of our library, draining our opponent for that much, again and again and again and again. We're not hitting for big chunks of damage, our deck's pretty low to the ground, so it's not like we're hitting our opponent for 10 damage or something with Twilight Prophet, but that adds up along with the flying clock, along with us getting more vampires in our hand. And then Sanctum Seeker is our primary finisher. We just flood the board with vampires, play Sanctum Seeker as a Hell Rider. Even if our opponent blocks and chumps, we're still draining our opponent out of the game, gaining some life, so it's harder for our opponent to kill us. Very, very good way to finish out the game for a go-wide vampire deck. Otherwise, as far as our utility slots, 3 Fatal Pushes. That's all we got going on, 3 Fatal Fatal Pushes. Does work well with Yahani. We can sacrifice something to trigger Revolt, but trying to just get in early, go wide quickly, and close out the game before we need more expensive removal spells, and our opponent starts doing really big things that overwhelm our small creatures and our Fatal Pushes. In the mana base, Concealed Courtyard, Unclaimed Territory is untapped dual lands. If they're dead lands, another bit of removal kind of can trigger Revolt in a pinch, some swamps, some plains. In the sideboard for controlling matchups, Duress to pick apart our opponent's hand, Lost Legacy to name Approach, or maybe Scarab God or something. Kemble, Council of Elocution, very good against any spell-based decks. If our opponent's slinging spells, the ability to just drain our opponent out of the game makes it very hard for opponent to counter our stuff that's taxing them as they do that. And then for more aggressive matchups, Authority of the Councils, red deck wins, or mono red aggro, whatever we're going to call Ramanop Redless mono red, is still a thing in Standard, still a good card in Standard, also gains a bunch of life against tokens. Ixalan Binding for Scarab Gods, Hazoret, stuff like that, also hits things like Anointed Procession, Hidden Stockpile, and Planeswalkers. Dusk gives us a super sweet sweeper. We blow up a bunch of big dinosaurs or energy threats and are able to get back pretty much all of our creatures. Most of our creatures are small, so we can draw a bunch of cards with the Dawn Half in the late game. And then Silent Gravestone for graveyard decks like the Scarab God does not actually work against God Pharaoh's Gift, though. I mean, I guess if you exile everything it does, but the first ability does not work, so keep that in mind. Don't just sideboard this in against gift decks unless you're planning on leaving up the 4 mana, because God Pharaoh's Gift does not actually target things. It just grabs a creature, so this is not going to stop a God Pharaoh's Gift. Anyway, that's White Black Vampires for Rivals of Ixalan Standard, and that's our Instant Deck Tech for today. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.